A very strong Leinster team didn't need to go through the gears to beat an outsourced Benetton. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. Benetton errors early on in this one, just giving Leinster, some decent field position, and it felt like only a matter of time before Leinster were going to take advantage of that. Leinster, to go to the corner twice on the bounce, they get set up for a catch and drive. Looks like that they're going to drive over, but it goes down just short of the line. But Spagnuolo has pulled it down illegally. Penalty try, and he goes to the bin at 7-0. Leinster then attack pretty much off the restart. Frawley puts Ringrose through a gap from inside zone 22. He breaks and finds Gibson Park, who passes back inside for Frawley. Nice handoff for him, and over he goes. As he finished off the score. He converts his own try as well. It's 14-0. Leinster then lose Kelleher to injury. He'd been had treatment on his ankles several times before this. Pretty much any time there's a break in play, so he's got to go off. So hopefully he's not out for too long, because Leinster already they've already lost their first choice hooker, so they don't want to be down their second choice as well. Next then, Leinster, they go wide, and Lowe puts in a kick through from out on the wing. Gallagher does get there first, but Lowe arrives shortly after, forcing him back over his own try line. It's 5-metre scrum to Leinster. Solid scrum. They go inside to Osborne. He carries well, and then immediately to go back out to the tram lines where that scrum took place, and Conan goes over in the corner. Frawley converts from the touchline. Really nice kick from him, 21-0. And so Frawley had a very decent game, honestly. While he was in there in 10, he did get as many minutes as maybe he was expecting at 10 tonight, but he still did well while he was there. Benetton then caught behind their own try line again. This time good work from Porter to charge a kick down. It's another 5-metre scrum for Leinster, and it's all one-way traffic so far. Leinster, they go inside from the scrum. Jimmy O'Brien gets stopped, but then they go out the back to Doris, who crashes over under the post, converted for 28-0. And Benetton in all kinds of trouble, well behind on the scoreboard. Heads going down already. And Spagnuolo, he had the yellow card, but also he got repeat warnings in the scrum for the position of his shoulder as well. We then have a Timo check for a clear out on Frawley by Mallier, but there's nothing in it. And in fairness to referee Evans, he just said, nothing in it, let's go, we don't need to watch a million replays. Benetton getting scrum penalty. Porter having his own troubles in that set piece. They go up the line and they look to attack, but it's very ponderous and they eventually knock on. Leinster concede another penalty, give them a chance for a bit of a do-over. They kick into the corner, 5-minute line out. Both McCarthy and Sneyman get up to challenge in the line out, make a very scrappy ball, and then Benetton get pinged for not releasing just after that. Benetton then back in their own half, but they do break from the 22. Amaga with the line break, and he then finds Menoncello, who, one of the few good involvements, honestly, that he had tonight. He really has looked, a shadow of the player that won Six Nations Player of the tournament. And, I thought Jimmy O'Brien did well to get back and scrag him. They go on from there, but they eventually again knock on. And that tackle as well was O'Brien's last involvement, as he has to go off for an injury. And then Ross Byrne comes on from him, and that's where Frawley has to, vacate the 10 position then to make space for him. Benetton then come forward once again, but, plodding all over again, and, not really going anywhere or finding any space. They do win a penalty with Leinster offside. They go to the corner, and, they decide to go to the front to try and catch Leinster, on the hop, but Canone does gather it, but gets isolated. Leinster then, win a penalty, get it off the field, and it's 28 points to 0 at half time. The best you can say for Benetton at that stage is they did stem the tide because, by the time Leinster went over for the fourth try, they were on a point a minute. Second half then, Benetton go to the corner early, winning, getting plenty of chances to go in there. Line-out malfunctions though, and Conan steals that, picks off the throw, and Leinster are able to clear. Leinster, for their part as well, not really fluid for most of the game. Benetton then punt the ball downfield. One of the Leinster backs wins the race. And who does he have outside him for the pass? Andrew Porter. And who's outside him? Tyke Furlong. The two props just busting their ass to get back there, chasing the kick. Another chance then for Benetton from a penalty. Go to the corner again, and to go to the back of the line out. Claimed well. They set up the ball really well too. They get some momentum going, and they drive over, but they get held up. And, in fairness to Evans, he, checked lots of different angles himself on the field to see if he could see any chance of a grounding, but he's pretty happy that it was held up. And they were talking about in commentary that he's probably going to get a shot at a shot at one of the autumn internationals. And I think based on this performance, certainly would, would be worth that. I think, he had a very good game. Doris then goes on a rampage for Leinster from a goal line dropout, bouncing defenders off left and right. It looked like it was going to be one of those just crazy tries, because it didn't feel like anyone was going to stop him, but we get pulled back because Ryan Baird is pinged for obstruction. There's no need for it. Doris was fine on his own. Baird then, a couple of minutes later, he goes to the bin for not rolling away. So not really the impact that he wanted, initially from the bench. Benetton then with another chance to go to the corner. They claim the line out and they set up the maul. Some of the backs join in. Marine decides to join in and then immediately leaves because realizes he doesn't actually know what he's doing in there. But that doesn't stop Benetton driving over. And Manfredi is the score. Cabarrus is missed from 28 points to 3. Then game petering out at this stage, but in fairness, it was kind of petering out from the 25th minute. But Benetton get another chance to kick up the line, roundabout to the edge of the 22, but it actually results in Josh van der Fleer break up the wing for Leinster, and he passes back inside to Osborne, who does well to keep it alive. A few phases later then, Ross Byrne puts a really nice kick in, and Leinster actually end up with a 5-metre attacking scrum, win a penalty from that scrum, go to the corner, and then Baird, he's back from the bin. He claims the line out. They set up the maul. It's going forward, and Barron breaks off and goes over to score. Then Ross Byrne, with the final act of the game, he converts the try to make it 35 points to 5 final score. Let's quickly look at the stats from the game. So in attack, 1 try for Benetton, 5 for Leinster, and you thought that Leinster were going to a lot more than that, having gotten 4 in the first 25 minutes. So one thing for Benetton, at least, to kind of drag Leinster down to their level and stop them scoring too many more. Possession then 54% to 46. So Benetton with more of the ball, but just couldn't do anything with it really. Clean breaks 5 for Benetton, 10 for Leinster. Defenders beaten 16 to 25, and offload 6 to 12. So Leinster with the better of the attacking stats, but again didn't look absolutely brilliant themselves, honestly. And although there was plenty of offloads, it wasn't a sevens type of offloading game. There wasn't a lot. Too many offloads for breaks or into space or anything like that. On defence then, territory 56 to 44. So Benetton not just having lots of the ball, but in decent positions in the field as well. But, blew so many chances. Number of tackles then 85 to 114. And missed tackles 25 to 16. So Benetton missing, more tackles from a fewer fewer tackles made overall by them. So 77% on tackle success, very poor from them. It's, you don't see teams dipping into the 70s all often on their tackle success. Leinster 88%, pretty good for a team still betting in a new defensive system. Turnovers 1 then, 5 for Benetton, 12 for Leinster. And Leinster just found it pretty easy to turn that ball over with Benetton so stilting in attack. Kicking then, 2 kicks retained by Benetton, none for Leinster. We didn't really see that type of up and under, compete for the ball type of kicking game too much from Leinster. In this game, they were happier, I think, kicking long and then having the likes of Lowe get there and put real pressure on, and they got a lot more kind of change out of that tactic anyway. Kicking success then, ignore it because it's a nothing stat. And then finally, for the teams at least, penalties, 6 for Benetton, 13 for Leinster. So Benetton, very good discipline. Leinster won't be happy conceding that many penalties, and one of many areas that they've got to tighten up on, honestly, in terms of their general play. But Benetton, even though easily on the right side of the penalty count, didn't help them in the end. On to individual players then. Successful carries, 4 for Dogwu. So he had a decent game for Benetton, stood out in what was a very poor team performance. Osborne, 5 for Leinster. Carrying on from the decent end to last season that he had, and his impact as well. And his exploits down in South Africa too for Ireland. And then a very good start to the season from him as well. Clean breaks then, 1 for Mendy, 2 for Doris. Doris had an exceptional game tonight. Adogwu then with 4 defenders beaten to Doris' 6. And Doris, he looked so much better at 8. And I think he gives Leinster a lot more at 8, which do have Conan there, who's had a brilliant start to the season himself, who was moved to 6 to accommodate Doris. I think that's a better setup for them. I think in terms of the way the two of them are, I think you get the best out of the pair of them when they're in that formation. There is speculation, obviously, of Doris going over to join, Lancaster at Racing. Hopefully he doesn't go, because he's a big asset for Leinster, even if he doesn't maybe get the chances that he would want to for Ireland. On for me to meters then, Gallagher 55 for Benetton. Along with Odogwu, really, 2 players that stood out for me on the Benetton side. I thought he had a decent game as well. Doris with 48 meters for Leinster. Zuliani with 2 offloads, and Sneyman with 2 for Leinster. Sneyman carries the ball, he's going to offload it. It's just how things are. Onto defence then. MacLeod with 10 tackles for Benetton. Josh van der Fleur, great shift from him, 15 for him. Turnovers 1 then, 1 for Mendy, 3 for Doris. And let's just briefly talk about the team. So first of all, Benetton look like they're very low on confidence at the minute. 3 very unconvincing performances to start the campaign. As I said, Odogwu and I'm forgetting you, Gallagher, right? Yeah, Odogwu and Gallagher, 2 bright sparks, and an otherwise very dark picture for them. And you look at like last season, they were up there, second place, at the start of the season, had a really good start to the season, fell away a bit and then came back, won that kind of winner takes all, won in the last round against Edinburgh to make the playoffs, and quit themselves well in their playoff game as well. But right now they need something to kickstart their season and get that confidence flowing again for them. Leinster, they picked a strong team, many of them, making their kind of first start of the season, including Sneyman on his debut. They raced into a big lead without really doing anything too special in the game, honestly. Game was very scrappy, and they did kind of descend to Benetton's level for much of that kind of middle period of the game. It is early season, and yet they will improve, but you still, you want to see better from them. You don't want to be going too many more rounds saying that they have to improve. But it's 15 points from 3 games. You can't really say too much, bad about that. But next up, it's Munster, Croke Park, and they're definitely going to, require a big step up for that game.